Discover your power, joy, and purpose. If we let others' expectations dictate our lives, we run the risk of never discovering our true selves and our true purpose. When we don't pause to listen to the inner self, we can end up feeling stuck and half alive. Yet we can find the answers we yearn for and need within our very selves. Indeed, there is immense power and wisdom in our intuition and the deep connection it brings. Learning to look inside, daring to embrace the sacred feminine, is one of the greatest acts of love for the self and others. When we find and follow our true purpose, we rise and radiate in the most magnificent ways. Today, we'll focus on this listener's real life question. I feel lost. I'm in my second year of medical school, but I know this path is not right for me. I'm living the dream my parents have had for me since I was a child, but I'm miserable and I'm suffocating. How do I break out of the mold I've been in for so long? How can I find out who I am and who I'm meant to be? And with that question as the focus of today's episode, I'm Dr. Carla Marie Manley, and this is Imperfect Love.
Welcome to Imperfect Love with Dr. Carla Marie Manley, psychologist, author, and relationship expert. I'm here to help unravel mysteries and misconceptions about love, relationships, and mental health issues, plus everything in between. Love is complicated, people are not perfect, and relationships surely can be tough. Together, we'll navigate this messy, imperfect space of real life.
Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Andrea Menard, who will be sharing her expertise on the sacred feminine. She is a guide who helps lead people back to themselves. Andrea, welcome to the podcast. It's so lovely to have you.
Tanchi, Dr. Carla, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, before we dive into the listener's question for today, tell us a little bit about what makes you, you.
Well, maybe this is an opportunity to introduce myself the way I was taught. So, as a Métis woman, I introduce myself in a way that acknowledges where I am. So, Tanchi Kiowa, Andrea Menard, my name is Andrea Menard. Hello, everyone. I carry the traditional names Notgoyutin as well as Shkotekwe. I'm a proud Métis woman from Treaty 1 territory in the homeland of the Métis, which is otherwise known as Manitoba. I currently live in the unceded traditional territory of the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Musqueam people, also known as Vancouver, BC, Canada. But I'm currently on the other coast in Mi'kmaq, so Mi'kmaq territory, also known as Halifax, Nova Scotia. So I am honored to be here. I am many things, and I'm actually on this coast because I'm acting in a TV series. But the reason I'm here today is because I too am a seeker of truth, a seeker of wellness, a seeker of healing. And I've been on a journey a long time, walking the red road, as my elders say. And I have discovered that we are all meant to be of service to that thing that we are, that beauty inside of us, that purpose inside of us. And I have discovered, though, even though I'm an actor and a singer and a writer and a speaker, who I really am is a facilitator of the rise of the sacred feminine, which is what I was taught by my elders, is that this is the time we are in now. And we look at it from an Indigenous perspective. So, you hear that divine feminine everywhere, but from an Indigenous perspective, we are returning to the circle through the ways of interconnectedness, of knowing that all life needs to be balanced. So I am a facilitator of the rise of the sacred feminine.
How beautiful. So, I have two questions. I know I will have many questions for you, but I want to start with two. When you talk about the sacred feminine, many people think that only means you're talking about women. It only means that it applies to females. So let's bring our male listeners into the circle as well. Could you explain what you mean by the rise of the sacred feminine?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that because this is not about gender. It can be, of course, um, but according to my elders, we are in a time where the feminine aspects of life, which are everywhere in everything, the forces of nature have a feminine and a masculine aspect to them. Day is a masculine aspect. Night is a feminine aspect. They're not female and male. They're feminine and masculine because of the nature of what they do, what they are. And so when it comes to human beings, every single one of us have a sacred feminine and a sacred masculine nature. The very fact that we are doing this podcast in, in a little meeting of minds, this is an action. This is a doing. This is a masculine way of being. We are performing an act of talking in this way. But so we are both females, but we are acting in our masculine right now. And many women thrive in this world because of their masculine natures. But what the rise of the sacred feminine is it is a balancing of value between the feminine and the masculine. We are all, in order to survive in this world, and all of the systems in place are masculine in nature. So all of the beings needing a job and money and working within these systems have to activate their masculine natures in order to survive and thrive. So that's valued in our society.
Hmm.
What necessarily is not valued in society is stillness, is emotional expression, is emotional understanding, is to actually know ourselves from an emotional standpoint, nurturing gentleness, intuition, creativity. Those are all feminine things, and it's rising in value. And yes, we need the systems to embrace those more, but I'm here one heart at a time, is that one person at a time learning to value their own sacred feminine nature. Because if we're talking about women, just women who have a great feminine, response to life, women are have also been taught to devalue their feminine aspects. They have been taught to apologize for when they get emotional, apologize when they feel deeply, when that is the magic of the feminine nature, that is the beauty of the feminine nature.
Hmm.
And men have been taught to, like, pretend it doesn't exist, to suppress it, and so our men have been incredibly brutalized by this system as well. So there's a valuing that's coming home for all beings. And when we become gentler with ourselves, we tend to become gentler with others and with the planet itself. We stop conquering, we stop colonizing, we stop exploiting, which is when the masculine nature has gone too far without the balancing nature or aspects of the feminine.
So beautifully put, and I'm very aligned with you. I'm thinking of in my first book, Joy from Fear, I wanted to talk about the masculine and the feminine and finding that balance. And I was counseled by the editing team, no, 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 don't use that language. It's too polarizing. So I shifted it into the masculine being power energy and the feminine being nurture energy, of course, giving homage to Carl Jung, who really brought a lot of those terms forward. And I love how so many fairy tales in the past, and I imagine you might have one you might want to share with us, but I'm thinking of in our world, we often think of Cinderella. And people think that that means that the woman goes out and she finds her perfect male. But really, when we get to the roots of that fairy tale, the very ancient roots of Baba Yaga, it was about the woman finding her feminine and her masculine half. And the man finding his masculine half and balancing it with the feminine energy. And so we're very much speaking that same language. And I love this topic. So could you tell me perhaps about, because I haven't got to my second question yet, but could you perhaps share with us maybe a sacred tale about how that works, balancing the feminine and the masculine, or the power and the nurture?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to say a tale right now, but
Mhm.
there's just seems to be something that's coming to me instead. And so it may seem like we're going a little off topic, but it's not. So, according to indigenous ways of knowing, that I was taught that all of life exists in a circle. All of life exists in a circle. Now, the structures that exist would make you think that life exists in a pyramid or a triangle, but it exists in a circle, which means every single human being, every single living being on the planet has a place in this circle. And when everyone is in a circle, there's no one person more important than the other. There's no one being more important than the other, and that means that you're best friend is beside you. That means your parents are beside you. That means your enemy is beside you. That means that the animals are beside you. That means the plants are beside you. That means a little virus called COVID-19 is also equal to you. Everything is of equal and connected to the other. And every single part of life brings wisdom to the whole. So in this time where so many voices have been left out of the systems, so many voices have been left out, that there seems to be this, and this is all the rise of the sacred feminine. So this is all, life seems to be screaming from all these different
Mhm.
parts of life. Women, our voices, the Me Too movement are flying to be heard. Indigenous people, black people, people of color, people with disabilities or extra abilities, vegans, vegetarians, transgender, two spirited, non binary people, all the ones have been left out and devalued and brutalized and almost attempted to be eliminated off the planet are rising, are coming home to the circle with equality, with space. So it's going to be a little crazy and loud right now because all of those voices need to be heard. But again, it's just because we're getting used to that feeling of, oh, yeah, every voice matters. Every voice matters. So it's not exactly what you were saying,
It's
but
perfect. It's
yeah.
perfect because you're addressing balance.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
addressing that circle is all about balance, so thank you. My second question is, what is the red road? I don't know anything about it. When you said your elders speak of the red road, please explain.
Um, that's, I guess, an indigenous phrase or an indigenous knowing is that there is the path of walking a healing path, walking a medicine path, walking a path towards healing and self evolution and self development and
Mm.
self understanding. That's walking the red road. And when an elder first said it to me, I mean, I'd heard it forever, but when I really understood it as my path, I had written a song and or I had written an album at this point. Maybe it was earlier than that, but I'd written a song. And an elder said, oh, because he liked the nature of what I talked about. And he says, oh, I think you were up there, you know, gathering a song, but you accidentally walked onto the medicine path. So it's like I went up into the realm where artists go to find songs and bring them back and bring them home. But you stepped onto the medicine path up there. You went into you had a talk with the ancestors, with the spirits, and I went, yeah, I guess I did. So it was the first time anyone had said it like that. So you can see it as a very concrete path of somebody who chooses a healthy lifestyle, somebody who chooses to partake in things that help their life instead of not. It's when you start to get healthy, when you start to own yourself.
Oh, my goodness, Andrea, what you gave me chills as you were explaining that, and you helped me see the time in my life when I started finding the red road, which
Mm,
takes us to the listeners. And that was a moment in your life when you were alerted to the existence of the red road. And so it seems as if this is a natural segue into the listener's question. It
mm,
seems as if an inner part of her is asking to have help in finding her red road.
mm. But I would even say, like, yes, exactly. But before she even gets to that, let's talk about the feminine aspect of life, which is your feeling center.
Mhm.
Right now, like was it a she? I didn't
I
catch that.
believe it's a she.
Okay, so this
Just from the
person,
name, but it
whoever,
could
yeah, yeah,
they. Let's call them
yeah,
they.
this person is very unhappy in their second year of medicine school, whatever. And so that's coming from an emotional response of, oh, I don't want to be here, right? My heart hurts, right? It's that feeling. And so that is a deep, deep, deep wisdom that this society has taught us to ignore. And I mean, the very fact that our parents want us to ignore it means that they were taught to ignore that deep, that wisdom. So I was taught that feelings are wisdom keepers. They
Mm,
are wisdom keepers, and they are not. See, what we're taught is that they're messy, they're inconvenient, they're embarrassing, there's something to be controlled, there's something to be eliminated. But when you look at them as a wisdom keeper, you're like, ooh, this part of me has wisdom. Okay, what is it trying to tell me? Because if my society tells me I have to ignore it and I'm really miserable, what is it that this misery could be telling me? Hmm. That I'm not following my heart, that I'm not following the path I need to be walking. And so, just that teaching alone about listening to the wisdom keepers that live within you and your emotions is telling you to start listening to the sacred feminine within you. It has deep wisdom for you, intuition, feelings. They let you know if you're walking the path or not. If you are riddled with pain and doubt and sorrow and despair and fear of the future, chances are your spirit is trying to talk to you. Like life is trying to move you in a different direction. But you have to be the one person at a time that decides to put society's expectations and training aside for a moment and say, yeah, I know what you think about this, but what do I think about this? What do my feelings seem to think about this right now? And
thank
that
you.
is where you will begin to take the steps that will lead you to your own personal freedom.
Thank you, Andrea. That is so perfect. And I love how you talk about emotions as wisdom keepers. I call them messengers. And it's
Mm,
very much that same language, but a wisdom keeper. And so your guidance is first pause. If you're feeling unhappy, miserable, out of sorts, there is a reason. There is wisdom in those feelings, in those emotions. Slow down, tap in, use the sacred feminine to figure out what's the wisdom? What is the wisdom that's trying to surface to talk to you?
mhm.
Beautifully said. Oh my goodness. So then what is their next step?
Well, that in itself,
Mm.
listening to feelings and learning to listening to feelings, that is a huge step for one thing. We're not just saying, oh yeah, that's easy, just go ahead and listen to your feelings and off you go. We wish. You're in counseling, like you're in clinical psychology, it's not that simple. But the choice to listen is an easy one. I am going to listen. I am no longer going to be someone that ignores the wisdom that lives within me. So I guess the next step would be first of all, make a choice to listen to
Mhm,
what your body's saying, because you already wrote it in an email to you, Dr. Carla. She wrote this, or this person wrote in an email to you,
mhm.
I'm miserable. This is not the path for me, basically. So she has all, or this person has all the expectations of family, and right. So at this point, because our world has disallowed us or steered us towards not honoring self,
Mhm.
we have given our power away to this society. We give our agency to our parents, to a boyfriend, to a girlfriend, to a spouse, to a sibling, to an authority, to a government, to whatever. And when we do that, when we give over our agency, we can feel victimized. And the truth is that yes, the system works with a whole bunch of victimized people. It keeps it in place, it keeps it perpetually moving to be victimized people, because no victimized people fight back. No people think for themselves. Victimized people don't think, oh well, they give up easy,
They give up.
we're
Yes.
easily manipulated, we're easily um, we just do what we're supposed to do instead of what our inner spirit, because human beings are so powerful. I was taught that so we are enormous beings, we are spirit beings that come into these human forms to remember who we are, which means that enormity comes into be to this limited space to remember. So
Yes.
that is the sacred path of going, oh yeah, I'm not actually a victim. Oh, I was taught that. Sure, oh, I'm starting to see through the training. Oh, I'm supposed to be obedient to this, but not according to my spirit. My spirit is supposed to say, wake up from that. I am, I am not meant to be uh, follow everyone else's path. I'm supposed to find out what my path is, find out what my purpose is here, and be a contributor to a better world by sharing what I'm here to do. And no one can tell us what that is. Not one single person, not our parents, not our society, no one. Because it's the inner calling, it's the inner, again, the wisdom
The
keepers, the
wisdom.
intuition, the feminine aspect of you. That when you finally stop doing, and doing right off a cliff, if you just look around, society is a doing, or at least especially this Western um, way of looking at the world, a Western way of operating. That we do so much that we're look at the fires up north, look at COVID-19, look at the climate crisis. This is an example of what doing to the point of exhaustion, of ignoring all the signs, of doing and doing. That is what happens when we ignore the intuitive wisdom of this doesn't feel right. This feels like a wrong decision. This policy is this procedure isn't that, this law is wrong, this, right? Those come from intuitive knowledge. And when a world values behaviors in a corporation or in a government that basically embody a sociopath's way of being, which is no feelings, no capacity to care about the outcome or the consequence, when that's valued for business or savviness, that creates a sickness in society. And when a society starts to value the intuitive hits, the wisdom, then we become a mature, we start to grow up. We start to remember who we are. We start to have compassion. We start caring about the other beings in the medicine wheel, in the circle. We care because what affects them affects me. And
Absolutely.
so we're not meant to be victims. We're not meant to hide our light in the world. We're meant to contribute to a better world.
I'm 100% with you and so believe in what you're saying that especially if we take it back to the question that it is about slowing down, tuning into herself, himself, themselves, listening to those feelings, paying attention to the wisdom within the feelings, and then doing the next right thing, if even if it may feel like a baby step for this individual, but the next right thing that helps break out of that path that is not this person's path, it's somebody else's path. And it may feel uncomfortable, it may feel scary, it may feel odd to discover your own path for the first time in life. But as long as this individual keeps tuning in, and the other piece that I really noticed that you spoke about indirectly, but also directly, is a reprioritization. That sometimes the values that the wise self really needs to embrace are not the values of parents or society, especially if it's very heavy in masculine energy. Do to the point where the planet is obliterated or other people's feelings are ignored or your own feelings are ignored. So
Mm,
you're really saying it might involve a reprioritization of values to value feelings,
mm,
energy, kindness, love, your own path, because your own path is what's sacred. Your own path is what the divine is calling you to do. So maybe it's time to wake up and listen to that path. What do you think?
mm. Well, thank you for because I forgot about the question. Sorry about that. I went from going over here and then went up to the big picture again. But I guess you just you captured it so clearly of that big way of looking at the world. So I guess if anything I want to say is that it's not easy. You know, that societal training is incredibly sophisticated. It's
Mhm.
incredibly it's in every cell of our body. So when we go away from the societal norm, we feel like we're breaking something. We're gonna die. We're gonna not survive. It's a primal fear that we feel, and so it's okay though. See, moving against the grain is that's part of it. That makes you extra courageous by walking the path that your soul wants you to, your spirit wants you to walk. That is how you know you are doing what is right because it is worth it. You will step towards breaking my parents' heart, breaking societal rules or whatever it is, or rules of being a great achiever, whatever those rules are that you can you know, glean from society's expectations. When you choose to follow your heart, and sometimes they'll be with society, and sometimes they won't. And maybe there'll come a time where they come together for a while, and then they part ways for a while, and then they come together, and then they part ways. But every time you are brave enough, because it takes courage, and that's okay. When you make a priority to listen to your wisdom, and you make steps towards that, it will get easier. It will get easier.
Oh,
But the
yes.
more, oh yeah,
Oh,
and the more you
yes.
take steps towards your true life, your true happiness, you also break ties for others. You make it easier for others because we're
Yes.
not meant to be, humans aren't meant to be cogs in a wheel. We're just not. We're meant to be free beings that bring our beauty to the world through our purpose, through our joy, and through our contribution. Reciprocity, we're here to be of service to the whole. Because when we are following what is most deeply serving us, it serves everyone else.
Absolutely. You say it so beautifully. And thank you also for going big, because when you go big and give bigger context, it helps us understand that this is a world issue. This is a societal issue. This is a very big energetic issue. This is a collective unconscious issue. And so
Mm,
I'm imagining when we bring it back again to the listener, and I have a question for you in just a moment. When we bring it back to the listener and imagine, does the world need one more unhappy medical student who's helping people get ahead of treating sickness? Maybe perhaps the world needs one enlightened individual, one more enlightened individual, creating wellness that gets us ahead of this path that we're on to such incredible sickness internally and physically. And so that's what I remember I had a client who was also in medical school and said, I'm in my fourth year and is it okay if I give it up? I am so, unhappy. And I said, well, that's not for me to answer, but does the world need one more unhappy physician? Is that what we need? Do we need one more physician who hates their job? We don't need anybody who hates their job. We want people who are living their dream, and that is how we do good, because then the
Mm,
passion takes root and it drives us and it feeds us, and that's where magic happens. So so
mm,
thank you. Now I have a question for you. I know you have these beautiful new cards out that
mm.
help people look, and I think sometimes when we're doing self-work and for the question that we're looking at, sometimes we're doing our self-work and we're journaling and we're meditating and we're afraid and we don't know the next right step. I'm a firm believer that there are cards like those beautiful awareness evoking cards, and you've created a pack, and there they are, the sacred feminine cards. Will you please share how those can help all of us find more awareness, more truth?
I would love to. Thank you for asking. And I'm glad it sounds like you're a card person. So for those of you who are not cards or not card people and don't necessarily understand what they are, I'm holding them up for those who are not listening on a video. I'm holding some of the cards up. They're beautiful paintings by my Métis sister, Leah Dorian, published by Mango Publishing. So they're available almost everywhere. But the cards themselves are they're called the seeds from the sacred feminine. So it's all about helping you create a ritual of self-care to help you learn how to walk gently within the mysterious realms of the sacred feminine, which will help you walk gently on the planet. And so so I'll go back to for those of you who don't know why do you use cards? Well, each card has a little teaching on it. And there's medicine in that teaching, and there's medicine in the card itself and the artwork itself. And so you can ask a question to your spirit, like our person who wrote a question to you, Dr. Carla. They can ask a question of their, however they want to say it. I say my ancestors, my spirit guides, my spirit helpers. You can say angels, you can say whatever, the people who live on the other side of, in the spirit realm as opposed to the earth realm, which is what we are in. So they have a bigger perspective. And when we ask our wise ones to say, you see this better than I do, so can you please answer this for me? So you have a question, and then you
Mm.
can shuffle the cards and you can play, and then you pick one, and there might be your answer. And there's no mistakes. One might just go flying out of the deck, and that might be your one that you're asking for. And it's all in there. I have a book within the deck of cards that you can read, and it teaches you how to do it. But all the teachings are basically helping you get grounded into the simple things of life, because these feminine aspects aren't the loud aspects. They're the
No.
quiet, gentle, inward aspects.
Mhm.
Nature, Mother Earth is the quintessential sacred feminine. She is the mother. So in all, especially in the indigenous ways of knowing, everything begins with the earth. Everything with and the waters and the four sacred elements and the four sacred directions. And so when we slow things down and then we ask a question of our own intuition, because that's what we're asking too, right? We're slowing down, and the very act of slowing it down and asking something of ourselves to the a being in the other realm, and then listening for the answer, all of that is a feminine way of being.
Yes,
You're
the
receiving.
quiet. Yes, the
You're
receiving.
receiving. You're receiving wisdom from something, some part of you, some being that is wiser at this moment because they see clearly. We see from a human perspective, and sometimes we need help. So all of these little things, and they're deceptively simple, very deceptively simple, and you can take it as it is. But if you're on a path of self-evolution and You've been on this path a while and this is all making sense to you. Each of the cards, they go very deep. So the teachings you can go deep or you can take them at surface value, and they're all valuable no matter where you sit. But when you learn to be gentle in that way of listening and receiving and expecting your ancestors to embrace you with answers, that in itself is changing you. So, this is
Ah,
a way to help you move into a way that is honoring your sacred feminine nature, planting seeds.
yes. Getting
Mhm.
out of that myopic way of viewing an issue and allowing yourself to be open to a message that might be from far beyond you and sometimes quite a bit wiser because it's not stuck in this little human form. So if you would do me a favor and pull one card, please, I would really
Mhm.
love that. And we can maybe use it to wind down our discussion, but add a bit of wisdom to the question of the day.
Mm.
So let's trust those cards to provide us with something very beautiful, very quiet, and as you say, as deep or as superficial as we might want to view it.
Okay.
And Andrea is shuffling her cards, putting her energy in there. And now here we have one.
Mm. Okay, because I have a funny background, it says feel your pulse. If I go forward, will it fuzz out?
It's perfect. What
Feel
a
the feet.
gorgeous drawing. Feel your
Mm.
pulse. And
Feel your pulse.
buffalo.
Mm.
Buffalo on
Okay,
the
I'll keep
card.
it up.
Oh, very quiet, very beautiful.
Mm.
And
Nope.
doesn't that tie into what you were saying? You were saying for our listener and for all of us, dive in, listen to yourself, feel your pulse, feel what
So
is
in
right
this,
for you.
yeah, and in this case, is that very heartbeat within you is a sign that you are alive. You are connected to the heartbeat of the earth. The heartbeat of the earth is everything to humanity's wellness. And when you remember that your heart and the heartbeat that flows within you is connected to all that is, to connected to our mother, that shows your sacred nature. You have value. You need to remember to honor the life within you. You are alive. You were a part of creation and a very, very valuable part of creation. So, this one little card can say, oh, yes, feel your pulse. You're alive. Or you can say, you, grandchild, you, daughter, son, child of creation, have life to share with others. Don't waste it. Don't waste it doing things, being things, saying things, believing in things that don't serve you. You are here to bring that heart to others.
It's just magnificent. Your message is magnificent. Your cards are magnificent. And your wisdom for the question of the day is just bringing tears to my eyes, my heart. Thank you. What a beautiful, beautiful message that we can all benefit from. And as a believer in the power of cards to evoke something in us beyond what our beings sometimes want to know. And that's why they're so beautiful to you can take them superficially, but if you allow them to go deep, sometimes they're telling us something that we want to know but are afraid of knowing. And you've said it beautifully. So, Andrea, thank you so much for your time, for your beautiful and sacred energy, for your wisdom, for bringing wisdom from your elders down to us here and now today. And I thank you from my heart.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for sharing space. And thank you for bringing that person's question here so that we could play for a while.
Yes,
Merci.
yes, beautiful play, important play, meaningful play. So thank you. Where can our listeners find you?
They can find me at andreamenard.com. And the cards are, I have a nice section where it's Andrea menard.com/cards. So very simple, but it's right on the front page. If you can't remember, you just scroll down and you can find all the information. There's links to bookstores, to Indigo, to Barnes and Noble, to Amazon. You can find all the links at
All there.
andreamenard.com.
So I'll spell that for our listeners. It is Andrea, Menard, Menard. You can also find information about Andrea and her amazing work in the show notes. And as a wrap-up quote taken from Andrea, leaving you with this beautiful message: love is a purpose. Healing is an act of love. And thank you for sharing your time with us today. This is Imperfect Love.
Thanks so much for sharing your time with me today. Remember, you have the power to transform your life and love fearlessly, if imperfectly, and it's my privilege to help you along the way. You can find more life-changing content, including my books and other podcast episodes, at drcarlamanley.com. Feel free to submit your own confidential questions through my website. I'll do my very best to include your issue on a future episode. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and leave a review. Until we connect again, this is Dr. Carla Marie Manley wishing you oceans of blessings and love. Please note, this podcast is psychoeducational in nature and is not intended to replace formal mental health support. Please contact your healthcare provider or emergency hotline if you need psychiatric care. And as always, please take good care of your amazing, wonderful self.